Welcome, everybody, to a brand new episode of Vida Baseball Live. I'm Julie Alexandria here in San Diego with Ozzie Guillen Jr. in Chicago. Happy Monday. How are you doing, Ozzie?
I'm doing great. Still Rona free. Doing doing the show. Baseball is going. Not perfect, but it's going. So I'm doing good.
It's going. And if you were watching baseball this weekend, a lot happened. We're going to get to it. We're going to break it down. Everything that went down in the world of baseball. But hit us up. Let us know what you want to hear about. We will take all of your suggestions and listen to your comments. We'll read your comments if they're good, and they're always good. On Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, hit us up. Let us know what you guys think. But first, on Sunday, it was the Centennial celebration of the Negro Leagues. Incredible to think that the Negro Leagues were started in 1920, and here we are, 2020, celebrating 100 years of the Negro Leagues. So teams league-wide celebrated by wearing patches. The bases had jewels on them, and guys had cleats and shirts and all sorts of sayings. One of my favorite, they played so we can. We've got some photos to show you from around the league. I know the Miami Marlins, very supportive. They were actually wearing Giants uniforms. Just really wonderful to see the entire league come together in celebration to honor those men.
I think that it's something that it's really hard to put in perspective because we have never had to deal with it. I just think about the fact that you're not even allowed to play a game because of the color of your skin. In my head, you try to make sense of it. Like, how do you live a life like that? And I still can't, I can't compare it. I don't have, I can't even just put it together. So, and when people don't realize it, is like, yes, the name of the league was called the Negro Leagues, but it was a place where Latino players would go play. It was a place where I have a belief in baseball. Prior to the integration of segregation being broken, that's to me when the new modern baseball world starts. It's like my dead ball era or prior. I think that anything past that to me is the real game of baseball where, everyone got to play. Prior to that, the Negro Leagues were where these individuals got to play. And when you look at the way they ran the league from just a financial standpoint to what the talent that they had, it's just so rich because it's just incredible what they were able to do. How ahead of their times they were. And one of the places that you can see that now, if you're a baseball fan, is the Negro League Museum, where this history lives. And probably top 3 museums that I've ever visited that did not know that gem existed, because it was just so they were integrating, Latino, Latin America and baseball down there. And they were integrating, travel and putting teams where they were not in big cities. So all these things that when you look at it, it's kind of like the precursor to modern day baseball, of everything that we get to do today. And that's a huge thing. And you have to celebrate that because you can't forget that this once happened. And again, the depth of the league was just incredible. Even the way the game was played, like, sliding head first and, hitting the hit and run and stealing bases. It was just a way, what they did was just make the game better. And it was such a different time. So I'm glad that guys now are more voiceful about it, and they let people know that they know that was there, because 30 years ago, it was something that guys knew, but they wouldn't promote. I think now that Major League Baseball has said, this is part of our history and this is part of your history, and we want our fans to know it, and we're proud of it. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. It's a part of the history of the game. I was kind of dismayed to hear so many of the announcers and the analysts, the play-by-play guys on the broadcast yesterday. I was watching a bunch of different games, and so many of them mentioned, oh yeah, there's the Negro League Museum in KC, but I've never been, but I heard it's really great.
Go expensive. You know what? It's even like when books come out, I really believe that I've been lucky because I have a baseball background, meaning my family, and I've worked in the game a long time, but I also love the game. So right. If I didn't love the game, I think that it would be a little bit harder, or I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But I love reading about the history of the game. And sometimes when you get caught up in the game, you forget and it becomes a job. And you're not excited about going there. Like anyone that goes to Kansas City.
I'd argue that, Ozzie, because even more of a point, if this is your job. And
that's what I mean. You should go there and make it a point. No, correct.
Calling baseball games, I call you out, color commentators and analysts who have never been, because this isn't just Black history. This isn't just Latino history. This is your history as a professional. This is what you do to make yourself better. And the fact that these guys don't give me the excuse, well, I play in a league that doesn't visit Casey, even in interleague, or it wasn't our time. Come on.
I just think in general, I think that again, acquiring that knowledge is, I critique this for guys that just say I hate analytics and they don't read the books because they say it's stupid. Well, you have to read it. How are you not going to have an opinion? I'm a sucker. You write a good baseball book. I'm just saying that you write a bad baseball book or a good baseball book, it doesn't matter. I'm reading it. And at some point I'm going to give it my own opinion. And that's the situation with the Negro Leagues, because I think as a baseball fan, okay, regardless of the color of your skin, you need to understand what this means for the game of baseball. It doesn't mean a day of, okay, well, they have really cool uniforms and it was really cool, and that's where Jackie Robinson played, and all the myths of Sasso Page. It's like, yeah, those are all like the highlights, but like really understanding just the collective bargaining. Like they had free agency and they had, they had expansion, and they were doing things. They have what we call modern day marketing today and giveaways. And like from a game of baseball, you're like, wow, like this all was added. All these great things came from this league in itself. And I really believe to understand the game of baseball and making it grow, you need to know where we have been, because then you'll understand things better of, okay, this is why this cannot happen, or we cannot make this decision because it's going to take us back 50 years. And I really believe that in today's, we live in a great world where now you can Google something and you can learn so much about something, but then you can't forget and go there. Because just being there and like seeing it, and like in like there's a part of the museum, okay, where you actually get to walk in like a bus area, okay, and they have luggage of what luggage was like back then, okay, but you get to be in a seat in a bus on how they used to travel back then. One thing is seeing it in a movie, but like I played baseball, I grew up around the game, sitting down in that seat and saying, man, these guys drove 25 hours in this seat.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then after they drove 25 hours, they got off the bus because they didn't have food or catering on the bus. And then they went into a restaurant that had a sign in the window.
You can't eat here.
Saying, you can't eat here.
Correct. And guys would have to sleep on the buses. So for me, it's like, okay, you went through all that, yet you still played baseball, made the money that you made, and still kept going. And you look at the guys play 20, 30 years. And I'm like, I thought I loved baseball. I'm being serious. After the third bus ride, I get off and they say, you can't eat here. I'm like, you know what? I'm staying where I'm welcome and I'm not playing baseball. So it's for me, it's like you get to be there and like be like, wow, this is ridiculous. And how lucky we even are from those trips. Like, we're complaining if our flight's not chartered and the flight's late to get to the next city. I'm like, these guys are on a bus. Yeah. And I think that it really, as a player and as a person of baseball, you really say, man, like, even though I think that I've been struggling so much in the minor leagues or in my job or how hard the job gets, you really appreciate how far we've come. And those little things, like, the stories are crazy. Like, they have the little captions and you read it and like, when we went through the South. And then when you start looking at the names of players that, we always think about Jackie because obviously he was the main one. But then every player that came of color in the next 15 years touches the Negro Leagues at one point. They played through there. So it's just, I love it. It's a big anniversary, and I really love that Major League Baseball is making it part of baseball history.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a video from Luis Tian. Check it out. Tip your cap.
Happy 100 year. Thank you to the Negro League and my father to give me the opportunity to play in the Major League. Happy.
Awesome tip of the cap. New York Cubans jersey there. I love it. All right, moving on to all of the action that went down this weekend. We got a lot of big names making their way, unfortunately, to the IL. How about the Yankees with Aaron Judge down with the calf strain? You've got DJ LeMahieu on the IL. You've got Giancarlo Stanton out, and yet they are still rolling. Thank you so much for that comment, Cesar. He says, Boone plans on some guys getting hurt. It's going to be hard to give up Frazier and Andujar. And then Cesar says, oh, wait, I'm sorry, Lou. And this is back to our our Negro Leagues Centennial celebration. He says the Bob Kendrick interview on ESPN was awesome. And yes, we've had Bob Kendrick here on the show, and he is absolutely fantastic. President of the Negro League Museum in Kansas City. But again, some crazy stuff this weekend. You've got sweeps when it comes to division rivals and crosstown rivals. You had the Phillies sweeping the Mets. You've got the Oakland A's sweeping the Giants, the Dodgers sweeping the Angels, Arizona sweeping San Diego. And like I mentioned, the big names on the injured list. What do you want to pick from, Ozzy? There's lots of time.
I just think that the Yankees, they need a new training staff. Hire someone. Keep these guys healthy. Oh my God, what are you guys doing there? What kind of physical program are you guys? At one point, you got to ask yourself. Like last year was funny, and like there's big injuries, but like some of these injuries are like nagging injuries, and it's like okay, like at what point? And again, I think that they're going to be okay because of their depth, but keep these guys on the field.
Yeah.
Like I feel bad for Booney because obviously you want to have your best team assembled, and they got depth. But now you understand why they won't give up on guys like Andujar and Fierce, because you know there's just guys that you need the depth, and whoever has the biggest depth is going to win. And you know DJ's going to come back sooner than later. But again, I think that that's when you look at your program and you have to say as a team is like, are we doing the right stuff? Why are guys getting hurt? That's something that as a general manager, you know, you have to start thinking about, okay, is this a team issue? Is this a player issue? Why are we always hurt? And from the sweeps, you know, the White Sox got lucky that they didn't get swept by the Cardinals. They were off for like 2 weeks.
Big time, 17 days off.
So,
and they come
played
back
amazing.
swimming, take those 2 games in the doubleheader.
Correct. And I think the White Sox offense kind of woke up later in game 3, and it was very helpful. But, you know, I think that right now, 20 games in, we're starting to see the teams that want it and the teams that are like, not a big deal. For example, the Dodgers have not lost a series. If anybody's keeping tabs, they are just destroying everybody that they're playing. So
power ranking number 1.
Yeah, so if you were second doubting the Dodgers of what they think about this season and if they're taking it serious or not, look at the record. But then you got teams like the Orioles, which they're grinding. You know, they're grinding. You look at their record and they're doing everything possible. And this is a huge development for them because, you know, in a 162-game season, it might change. But the development of a player that might have taken you 2 to 3 years, now you're shortening that. And we're seeing teams like the Phillies take that advantage. And a lot of teams are taking that advantage. The Mets and the White Sox, for example, I'm starting to debate where they're going because to me, this was a season for them that was like, you're getting an opportunity to just take a playoff spot and make all your younger players develop. Right now, they're like in this limbo of I don't know where they're going. So we're starting to see of like the teams that are like their development's getting better and teams that are surprising individuals, and then the ones that are really good who's taking it to the next step, and the good teams that are playing horrible that you're like, okay, why are you not playing to the level that you're supposed to be playing in? So I really feel like the season is taking a toll of who's going to be in it and who's not. And I think it's a mental game because, again, even though it's a 60-game season, it's a sprint. Everyone's always said that the hardest thing in baseball is the mental aspect of the longevity of the season. This shortened season has a lot of what ifs with testing and when you're going to be ready and just being able to have to, you know, if your team was one of the teams affected with the postponements, you have to get ready to play every single day. And again, the mental grind of it is going to be just as hard as if it was 162 games or harder. So again, a lot of good stories, but I'm starting to see the teams that are serious. San Diego Padres, kudos to them and their manager. They're not believing in anybody. They're just whooping on everybody.
They lost 5 in a row.
I know, but they're whooping.
5 in a row. They
okay,
dropped 5 in a row. Since Eric Hosmer
they need to wake up.
Did you see this?
Yeah, I saw his tweet.
His tweet where he's like, someone was like, "Oh, are the Padres good?" And he's like, "Yeah, we're nasty, bro." They dropped 5 in a row since then. He better recant.
Well, he needs to recap and say, okay, but this is like with a learning curve. Okay, this is when you make good teams. Okay, say, are we going to keep losing?
Right.
And I just know that Yates went down, their closer.
Yep.
But this is when the good teams. This is when I hate the word ace. Okay, or I hate the word clubhouse leader. Because they're usually used the wrong way. They think it's just the guy that goes to pitch number 1 or the veteran guy in the clubhouse. Neither of those things are that. An ace to me is someone that stops the bleeding. Someone that comes in and says, give me the ball. My bullpen needs a day of rest. I'm going to win this. Okay, right. And you stop the losing streak. A clubhouse leader is a guy that says, hey, guys, we need to get it together because we need to be. And I think Hosmer, he's been in those situations. He's been on winning teams where you need to, and whoever it is, it could be the manager, coach, player. You can, when you're playing, you can, in any season, you cannot let long losing streaks go. You cannot go 4 or 5 games and then win a couple. So it's literally when you have to step up. We saw Keuchel do it with the White Sox. Of when you're trying to be that team to the next level, you can start off hot, but when it's not going good, it's like, how do we stop from not going good? And the Padres are in that I want to call it teenage age when they don't know if they're like going to become an adult or they're going to go back to being like middle school kids, like elementary.
They're in purgatory.
During purgatory. So again, I think it's a great opportunity for them to say, hey, and again, I love social media. I do. A lot of teams are great on paper and marketing.
Yeah.
You know, I think baseball's still decided on what you do between the lines. And great tweet. It's awesome. You are nasty if you believe that, but you have to. We believe only what happens on the field, and winning does that.
Sure. Well, you mentioned the card. Well, first of all, I just want to touch on the Mets. I think as goes Jacob Degrom, so will go the Mets. Jacob Degrom was a late scratch due to neck tightness. They're really not sure he's day-to-day. He's going to throw aside. They're going to see how he comes out of that and if he is ready for his next start. If not, I say the Mets can kiss the season goodbye. Let's talk about the Cardinals. 17 games off. They come back. They are going to have to play 53 games in the next 44 days. If they are able to do that with a bunch of those 7-inning double headers, if they're able to get through that, the next day, which will take us 44 days from now, will be September 29th. Guess what? Guess what happens then, Ozzy? That's when the postseason will start. So if these guys can get it together and do what they did against the White Sox, then maybe they have a chance. Let's talk about those White Sox. We have a video of those 4 homers. Check this out.
In the air, left field. Eloy Jimenez to the line and gone again. 4 in a row.
All right. Well, congratulations to the White Sox. Excellently done. Someone who's not hitting the dingers, though, unfortunately, Jose Altuve. You know,
he's not
Ozzy,
hitting anything. He's not hitting even watery foul. He's not hitting any. I don't care about dingers, foul balls. At one point, it stops being funny and it starts concerning you.
Mm-hmm. Are you concerned?
I feel for his wife and his family. Like, meaning, I hope they're not around him right now. And if they're not, they should go give him a hug. He's struggling. He's struggling. I don't care what anybody says. You have to be a special guy. You know, that's why I loved Barry Bonds. Because Barry was called a cheater for like the last 4 years of his career, and he still show you up and he laugh at you, and he's just like no real blood in his, just a mercenary. Another guy that I saw that was John Rocker, most hated guy in Mets. Yet when he would go pitch in Shea Stadium, he would, he becomes Sandy Koufax. Mm-hmm. People throwing batteries at him. And then I've seen guys completely falter. You get the jips from throwing. You can't throw in a situation. Ozzy had a pitcher in the postseason, okay, in 2005, that it got so bad for him that they wouldn't pitch him at home. He'd only pitch on the road. Okay. Oh. So imagine how that, like, on a roster, we want this guy on, but we know we can't pitch him at home because he struggles at home because of the pressure. Okay. This is all happening to Altuve with no fans in the stands.
I know. I was just thinking that.
He needs to realize, no, Julie, but he needs to understand this. This is like when, you have if you know every time you face the camera, someone's going to bring it up. And I feel like Altuve doesn't. I think he needs to realize this sooner than later. Yeah. That this whole thing of him cheating or not cheating or the Astros is always going to come up.
Yeah.
So he needs to be able, if that's what's bothering him, he needs to realize and say, hey, I need to go back to my fundamentals. Because, yes, there is a lot of guys struggling, but guys that are struggling are not linked to the scandal. And he's not only struggling in the plate, he's struggling defensively. He's made some running mistakes. His confidence of him going to Dusty and saying, I think you should remove me from the top of the lineup. Right. I really feel like his confidence as a player is affected, not just a hitter. I'm talking about Altuve as a player as a whole.
Yeah. Yeah, but at a certain point, and I think we may have gone dark, but
for a second.
Yeah, but Oh,
Oh,
but
perfect.
but you can still hear us. So, it's like the radio show.
I broke the camera.
It's like a podcast. But at what point, Ozzy, do you say, listen, you're making a lot of money. This is part of your job, is to put up with, well, the fans, but there are no fans, but to handle your own mental toughness and your own mental health. This is part of it. So whether that means going to see a therapist, going to see a psychologist, whatever it is,
you have to admit you have a problem.
Don't you think he's already there because he was able to ask Dusty? He's admitting something there.
I'm saying to his team, but I'm saying I haven't talked to him personally, or I haven't talked to somebody who's talked to him personally. But
he's not in denial.
He's not in denial.
Something that I can shake off.
Here's the part where I think, as a hitter, where you have to say, because you go through slumps. Okay, right. Good players always have bad years. You go through slumps. And Altuve has always been a very good hitter. My concern is what's happening with him off the bat. Like, when he's playing, he's doing things that are like not Altuve, like positioning himself in the wrong way,
3 errors in one
balls, like trying to bunt with 2 strikes. Like, these are all things that the only thing that he hasn't done is slide into first base head first, and I'm sure that if he smells a hit, he'll do it. But those are the things that you have to say, okay, why am I struggling? Okay. And this is where I think Dusty, I don't know his relationship with the coaching staff. They need to tell him and say, hey, let's go back to fundamentals. And because obviously he's been affected. So regardless, whatever it is that's happened, they need to break down everything and reassess the way he's been approaching the plate. For him, I think that he needs to realize that at this point of his career, everything that he does is going to be pre and post 2016 season.
Oh yeah,
pre and post. Yeah, everything's they're gonna look at it. We do it for Barry. We do it for A-Rod. We do it for Cano. We do it for Braun. We'll do it for Pujols. So we do it for everybody. So anyone who's been linked, and now I think that in today's age, Julie, the part that is so hard is all the fans are looking to troll you. Okay. So
there's a lot of hate out there, man.
There's a lot of hate out there. So people are looking at, like, saying, oh, well, they're going to bring up stats. Okay. The Red Sox fans have been doing it right now for the Yankees and vice versa. So every time anyone on that team does something, good or bad, they're going to say, oh, just like if he was hitting 700 right now, you'd have Astros fans showing it to you and saying, oh, look, well, he's hitting 700, which is funny because Correa's hitting amazing and he could not hit water during those times. Like, he's been the opposite. So I think that this also has impact on coaching staff. Yeah. Okay. The Astros are a weird team because their minor league system is run a certain way. Okay. And their hitting philosophy, which is one that Altuve doesn't kind of fit into. Free swinger. So at one point, do the Astros step in and say, hey, okay, now is the time that we're going to switch you to the Astro way. Okay. Or, you're rebuilding. He might need a new scenery. And you say, do we deal Altuve? Because I'll tell you this much. Everyone.
Ozzy, can you deal any of those guys?
Yes. Oh, for sure.
Can you?
Yes. Oh, for sure. I don't think you'll get as much as, I don't think you would get as much. I don't think you might get as much as you would thought you would have gotten in the past.
At all.
You always take your chance on Altuve.
As a possible team receiving him,
you always you're like, I got to get some prospects up for Altuve. Maybe not your best prospects, but I think that we'll see this, like, he'll get a second, a third, a fourth chance because his numbers are just ridiculous. Like, the guy was top 5 player, prior to his injury, and then when he came back. So I think that he'll always get the benefit of the doubt. But I really think that he needs to reassess himself, his family, really finding his core of finding that. And he's gonna have to realize that if he's soft as baby as Charmin and he can't deal with the booze, then he's in for a big mistake because he is now a heel. He was a baby face and people loved him and everybody wanted to be his bestie. That's gone, and that's not going to come back.
Long gone.
Oh, it is. Some guys that affects them. Some guys love being. Some guys love. I'll give you an example of a guy that happened to. Alex Rodriguez, when he was with Seattle, was probably one of the most popular players in the game of baseball. Okay, he was loved everywhere he went. He was the up and coming baby face, and people loved him. And then Alex left Seattle, and he said, "I want to go to a winning team," and took $250 million to go to Texas. And we know what happened there. And that's when the first allegations came out, and that's when it changed for him. And it took some time for him to become okay with him not being the face of baseball, him being the most hated guy in baseball. People hated him everywhere he went. They thought he was greedy. They didn't like him. And I think finally with his time with the Yankees, it kind of got better. And then obviously the rest of the things came. And now he's I think now in his point in his life, he has haters. He knows that. And he's okay with it. So I think as an adult, I think as a man, you decide that. I think the sooner Altuve realizes that, the better for him, because he's not going to go back to, "We love you, Altuve. You're the most precious thing in baseball." That's never coming back.
That's never coming back. And to be honest, when it comes to these guys, I worry about, and I apologize for the construction that's going on next door. But I worry about the clubhouse chemistry, because I don't know. I think
this is like if you were married and your marriage was not doing well, and then both people get fired and you're in a financial situation of struggle. It's going to get really bad real quick. Like if you were thinking about divorce, now it's like you just sped up 3 years. They're struggling. They knew they were struggling. Now the players are not playing well. Dusty has to deal with this. Now you're starting to be like, now it's like who cheated, who didn't cheat.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if you put it this way, if you didn't cheat, okay, and you're caught up in this whole mess, and you're in this because your teammates cheated, like some people are allegedly, you're like pointing fingers and saying, "It's your fault. Yeah. It's your fault."
Exactly. And speaking of pointing fingers, let's talk about the Indians for a minute, because there's a lot of finger pointing going on in Cleveland. The Zach Plesac and the Mike Clevenger fallout, it just keeps getting more dramatic. And
somebody step in.
An
adult. Where's Terry Francona? Where's Terry? I'm being serious. Where is Terry? This is why Terry's on this team.
Right. I mean, you've got Ali Perez basically saying if they come back, because they were basically they were sent to an alternate site, right? So for those that don't know, they were caught by MLB security having disobeyed the COVID rules. They went out, they went partying in Chicago. They admitted to it. They were then removed from the team and put on a 10-day sort of probation period or quarantine at a remote site where they are not, they're just playing in sim games. They're not really able to see real action. And so, because there are no minor leagues anymore. And so, they're basically set to come back in 10 days. And Oliver Perez says, "Hey, if they come back in 10 days, I'm out."
So
there's major payment and team control implications here, Ozzy.
So this is the part. So you just put the Players Association in a really, really bad situation. And these are the things that you had to start talking about instead of salary and how much you were getting paid in percentages, was situations like this of, can you keep a player down? Is a player going to get affected by COVID? Their agents are going to be, their hands are going to be up in the air, just crying, just what are you guys doing? So it keeps getting worse and worse. I really wish, so Plesac and Clevenger are definitely unhappy because the rules of Major League Baseball are a joke. Okay? And when I say a joke is, I do not believe that you're safer because you don't go out on the road, but you get to go out when you're at home. So your rules are stupid.
You're not supposed to go out when you're at home.
No, yeah, you are. You can go out when you're at home. There's guys, the White Sox, eating at Chicago Cut every other day, and restaurants, and you can when you're on home, you can do whatever you want. I didn't know that was the point. But obviously after this situation, they're saying, wait a minute, how come I have to be at home? I can go out at home, but I can't go out on the road. So that's why they came up and made those videos of saying, well, you guys have done this. So it's, again, the pointing the finger. I think from their end, because you can't change rules, okay? Rules are rules, and you have to live by them. And even if they're horrible, there's a lot of rules I don't like, but I have to live by them, okay?
For the safety of everyone else. Don't take it personal.
For whatever. When you sign with Major League Baseball, you have to do what Major League Baseball tells you. You signed a contract. That's what you have to do. Mm-hmm. When they got in trouble, okay, and they send them away, they just should have said, you know what, guys, we messed up. We see you guys later. And that's it. Don't post, don't tweet, don't make videos, don't do anything. Swallow it. And then, because now you gave ammo to your teammates. here's the other part of situation-wise that you didn't know. You don't know the dynamics of that clubhouse if Plesac and Clevenger were an issue to players beforehand. Because now guys can say, well, if we're playing better without them, we don't want them around. Okay? So that's another, Oliver is a leader. He knows. There might be saying, you know what? We've been winning games without them. Leave them at home. We don't care. Let them suffer. And then the team says, oh, if the players don't want them here, we can say, well, we can have them for control for another year. Because we're going to be out of this anyways. We don't know if we're going to compete, or we can still compete because 8 teams make the playoffs. We have enough pitching in Beaver and Plutko and pretty much anyone who's in that bullpen who's the best pitching staff in baseball. So they might think, the part is funny. If they were offensive players, you say, oh, how can you guys let go 2 of your players? But they can pitch already. They have enough pitching to throw around. So they're thinking in their minds, we can compete without these 2 guys. And then we can.
Because check this out.
I don't think they can. No, I don't think they can.
There are 2/5 of that rotation, right?
I don't think they can.
Major League best of 2.43 ERA, and you're going to mess with that? Oh.
Sorry about that. I think this is going to have implications in the game of baseball for 2, 3, 4 years from the Indian standpoint. Because let's say they do mess around with his with the service time. You think he's going to come back and be extremely happy and high-fiving his teammates? He's going to say, I hate it here. I hate everyone here. I hate everything here. So I think that you need to be able to figure it out. This is when a general manager and a manager need to talk to both sides and say, we punish these guys. We need them back. No one opt out. And if you're going to opt out, make sure that it's not any of the players that you need, or that's going to affect your clubhouse.
How's that? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, we're back. Sorry, some technical issues today. But we had a lot to get to. But Ozzy, thank you so much. We have to go. We will be back on Wednesday with a brand new episode of La Vida Baseball Live. Ozzy Guillen Jr., thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for your comments, everybody. A lot of Bo Sox Yankees comments in there, but we will have to get
Bo
to more.
Sox, why are they still? The fans are still talking smack.
I
Oh,
mean,
please. Just quit. Hey, quit. Think about 2021. Go to bed, Red Sox fans. Go to bed.
Spencer says this whole quarantine thing is a joke. Oh my gosh. And he says, oh, the ranks are about to turn on each other. Well, it should be very interesting to see how this novella plays out. We'll bring you more on Wednesday. We'll see you then. Bye-bye, everyone.